Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So after studying about what ARM is, what subscription, why do we need it, Azure storage. So as the name is suggesting you what the storage is, when you have storage, so everything becomes the cloud platform. So it is nothing but the cloud platform which is providing you these storage solutions, and it is offering high availability, okay, and scalable and over the internet. So it is basically a solution for modern data storage scenarios where we need high availability and redundancies. So Azure storage data objects are accessible from anywhere via HTTP or the HTTPS. So slowly we'll go ahead and study about storage services. What are the different types? What are the different redundancies options? And what are the services that the storage is providing. Okay, so let's begin with the redundancy type of the storage. To begin with, we'll start with Azure redundancy and its types first. Okay, so Azure storage account redundancy. So the very first type that we are going to discuss about the storage is the LRS storage. Okay, what is LRS? It is local redundant storage. So this is a very least redundancy that this Azure storage account can provide you. Okay, so in locally redundant storage, again, I'm telling that all the data is stored in the same region, and it's a least level of redundancy that Azure can provide you. Okay, so basically three copies are being maintained here, but they all are in the same zone, and the region is also only one region that we have. So what is the main advantage of this LRS is it is very cost effective. Okay, so it is cost effective, as well as if there are advantage, there can be a disadvantage also. Okay, so if I come to disadvantage, so if the major disadvantage is if this one zone, this availability zone goes down. Okay, so every means it will be a high downtime, because if the availability zone gets down, all the three copies of your storage will go down. You will not have any copies active, or you can restore, or you can use any other, because the zone is down. Okay, so similarly, there can be a full data loss if the region is down, right? Although in Azure it does not happen, it can be full data loss when there is a complete downtime for this region. So to avoid that, we never recommend for any production to stay on this LRS redundancy type. Okay, for testing, for any kind of development, you can use LRS, but not for your production purposes. Okay, so LRS is definitely not. Okay, so in terms of hardware failure, what will happen? So this LRS is helpful when there is a hardware failure, because you will already have three more copies, or you can say two more copies, wherein you can switch over, you can have a data backup. So it is helpful when there is a hardware failure, then the data can be retrieved from all those three copies that we have. So basically LRS is nothing but a single availability zone and the redundant, or the least level of redundancy that the storage account can provide. So single availability zone and the single region both. Okay, so that is all about the LRS. Now we'll go to the other redundancy provided by the storage account. Okay. Okay, so the second redundant storage is ZRS. What is ZRS? It is zonal redundant storage. Okay, so as the name is suggested, we have three copies maintained, but it will be copied in a different zones. So there will be three different zones and the copies of the data. Okay, so as the name suggested again, so it has a three different availability zones, but the region will be same. Okay, so there are three different zones in a region. In one region, it has a three different availability zones. Okay, so three copies will be maintained, but it will be copied in three different zones. As soon as the data is placed, immediately all the three copies are created. Okay, so there is a simultaneous sync. Okay, so you can say the sync is synchronous. It is not asynchronous. So as soon as the one copy is placed in one availability zone, similarly, immediately, parallelly, the second copy is placed in the second zone, the third copy is placed in the third zone. So all these copies are placed in a different zone, which is overcoming the disadvantage that we could see in LRS, right? In LRS, we had only one zone, wherein all the copies are placed in one zone. So here, if one zone is down, at least it can be used from the other zone. If the second zone is down, we can use on the third zone. Okay, but again, we have only one region. What happens if the region is down? We will not be able to access all three copies, right? So again, in like for example, in South India, ZRS is not supported. Okay, so although it is resolving the problem of availability, it gives you high availability without any delay. All the copies are synchronously syncing, and at the same time the copies is being created. So but if any zone go out of service, we will have two more zone up. Okay, so if whole region goes out the service, then again it is not good for prod. Okay, so that is the one challenge that it has still not overcome from the LRS. So it cannot handle the regional failure. That is one of the disadvantages of the ZRS. Okay. So apart from zonal redundant storage, if we move to the other storage redundancy, we have two more redundant storage that is overcoming the disadvantage of LRS and zonal redundant. So the other one that we'll talk about is geo-redundant storage. What is geo-redundant? As the name again suggesting you, it's a geologically we'll have two regions. Okay, so which is overcoming one of the disadvantage of LRS and this ZRS. So we'll have two regions. One will be primary region. The primary region will be selected by us, but the secondary will be auto marked. Okay, so let's suppose we have selected Central India. So that is our selection, but the second zone will be selected by Azure itself, will be picked up by Azure itself. Okay. So three copies will be made, and again the three copies will be maintained. Okay, but across region replication starts and copying data to the secondary region. So the three copies are maintained. Data is getting copied from your primary to your secondary, which is asynchronous here. It is not synchronous. Okay, it is not continuously copying data from your one zone to the other or the one region to your secondary region. Okay. Okay, so let me make it first. So it is a first region, Central India, that I have chosen. So this is a primary region for you. And the other region will be the secondary region from where the data will be copied to the secondary region, from primary to secondary. But there will be a delay, as I already mentioned. It will not be synchronous. So let's suppose it's South India. So one copy here, two copy, and again three copy, and all these copies will be transferred or will be replicated in the other zone, in the other region. This will get copied to your secondary region. Okay, I'm trying to explain you in a detail, so please don't find it boring. So it's a kind of GRS. We have the availability zone in your other region. Same three sets of copy of data. So again, if as I mentioned, it will be asynchronous data. So let's suppose if the data is placed in your primary region, in your secondary region, it will sync. 15 minutes of delay will be there, around 15 minutes. So let's suppose if your whole region is getting down, it goes down. So only 15 minutes of data will be lost from your primary region if we are going to use your secondary region. So it's kind of asynchronous sync that we have in geo-redundant. So that is the disadvantage of geo-redundant storage. So although Azure gives you the option wherein you can select for data minimum of 5 minutes of loss, but again, there is an additional cost to it. So again, I will repeat that the replication, although says that it is going to take 15 minutes, but it is usually less than 15 minutes. But yes, this is considered to be one of the disadvantage of geo-redundant storage, where we have a asynchronous and there can be a few minute loss of data when the region is going down. Okay, so to overcome that, we have one more redundancy that is within the Azure. That is one of the more, this is also costly. Okay, so the cost of GRS is double than LRS and ZRS. So we hardly use this particular GRS in very rare situation, and that also depends upon the requirements of your project. But okay, let's discuss the last redundancy storage, which is zonal geo redundant storage. Okay, so the last the redundancy is geo zone redundant storage. So again, as the name is suggested, we have three copies that are available, will be maintained in three different zones. Okay, so in primary region, it's a availability region. The secondary region is automatically created, as I told you that, but while replication between primary and secondary, it will be asynchronous, but there will be a cross region replication. Okay, so three copies will be maintained, but it's all in a three different zone. Okay, so this is kind of ZRS within your geo zone redundant storage. So kind of three different zones are there within the region. So it's also a cross region replication. It is also asynchronous. So the catch is, in the primary region, we have three different zone in one region. Okay, but when replication happens and it goes to secondary region, zone, one region and three copies again. Okay, this is a catch which we can see in, again, I'm repeating myself, when the replication is happening, we have three different zone in one region, but when replication happens, it goes to secondary region, but again it will be like LRS. Okay, there will be only one zone when it is cross replicating from primary region to secondary region. So in primary it will be like ZRS, we'll have a three different zone, but in secondary it will be only one zone. Okay, so I hope that you can guess why we are taking one zone, because I will answer. If it would have been live classes, I would have asked you, but let me answer. So for this, we have the asynchronous synchronization between data, but only one zone is selected because there are multiple region which is not supported, which is not actually supporting multiple zones. Okay, so by default, Azure has set it as only one zone, because whenever we are creating primary zone, the secondary is automatically taken. So we don't know what it is going to take. So there's many region where Azure is not supporting the multiple zone. That's why in the secondary we'll have only one zone. So Azure has set this as LRS in a second region. As I told you that some region cannot support multiple zones. So this is all about the redundancies of the storage. Now when we select different kinds of redundant storage. Okay, and I will show you how much double price it become when we select GRS. How much price it will become when we select GRS or ZRS. Okay, so let me provide you the big differentiation in one kind of Excel before moving it to pricing calculator. Okay, so let's discuss the different features that we have studied so far to revise. Okay, to begin with, let's discuss the feature node failure, zonal failure, regional failure. Okay, so now let's discuss the type of redundancy of the replication that is happening. Okay, so the first one that we studied is LRS, ZRS, ZRS, and GZRS. So what happened when there is a node failure with LRS? Is data replicated? Yes. So the data is available when there is a node failure. So the data is available for all the replication type. What happened when there is a zone failure in LRS? So the data is not available when there is a zone GRS, and so data is available in second region, okay, not the primary one, GRS, because the primary complete region will go down. The data we will get in the secondary region. So what happened to regional failure when it comes to LRS? So the data is not available. We have a single region. The data is not available in LRS. So when we talk about zone redundant storage, the data is not available. In GRS, which is your geographical redundancy, so the data is available in the second region, okay? For your geographical zone also, we have data available in second region. So now let's discuss about pricing calculator. Let's go there. So this is the pricing calculator. We'll go by checking the price. This link I will share in my description box. Let us add to estimate for storage account. So I've added the storage account here. Let's scroll down. Okay, so here we have selected the redundancy type as LRS. So we can see it's consuming near about, let me change the GB, let it to be 10 TB. Okay, so you can see the change in the price. Okay, so from 20 it has become to 212 for LRS. Okay, so you can see what's the average per month here. So let's go with GRS. So ZRS, you can see that it has become 266.24 for the same TB. Okay, for the same capacity of the storage. When we go with GRS, it's just the double the price of LRS and ZRS. So why we would go for GRS? Okay, when your requirement is getting fulfilled with your lower redundancy type, right? So we hardly go for GRS or GZRS. Okay, see, it's again doubling. So from here you can calculate, you can see how much your average per month it is being charged, your upfront price. For any kind of reservation also you can select like 1 year or 3 years. Okay, so the last GZRS is consuming around $479.23. So I would recommend, okay, so I would recommend that you guys can use LRS and ZRS. Also, again, it depends upon the project. Okay, guys, so this is all on this in this video. We'll again come up in the other playlist wherein I will be teaching you about the other services of the Azure. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You have learned a lot. So I think that your Azure journey is going very well. If you have any doubts, any questions, you can post in our channel. I will definitely try to answer and resolve your queries. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.